Hello and welcome back to another video. So, I figured I would take this opportunity, for this week in particular, to discuss my time over the last year with the Polymega. Now, I had to wait 2 years to get this thing. 2 years. And since then, I've used it on and off. My first impressions were it was okay. And I figured that would sort of change throughout the year. I thought I'd use it more. I thought there would be more time. Or I'd be drawn more to playing it for whatever reason. So what I figured I'd do is just kind of go through each module, sort of review my time with the console itself, see what maybe needs improving, maybe what we're kind of hoping for, and where I kind of see the sort of brand going next, or specifically the console itself. Now, what do I think of it as a whole? Do I think it's worth the £600, including postage, that I paid for this giant ass collection of modules for this particular system? It depends kind of on what you're looking for. So I bought the Polymega with the intention of collecting stuff I hadn't necessarily bought before, playing consoles that I wouldn't really have a way to play otherwise, and maybe having a bit more of a HD sort of deal. So, to be just purely front up, and played it as much as I wanted to. And played the Polymega half as much as I wanted to. Sort of took a good few months break. I'm not much of a super retro gamer anyway, ignoring the fact that most of my collection is retro games. I've been playing a lot more of like modern releases over the last year. That's probably looking to change because this year doesn't really have anything majorly major that I want. And I kind of want to lean more into the Polymega and playing different games on different modules. So I figured we kind of go module by module, as I said, kind of see where I'm maybe going, maybe what I've done, and maybe kind of go from there. So, base module. Base module. I know this is a module, but we'll get to the usage of that particular module in a moment. The base console. So the base console plays things like Sega Saturn, PS1, Neo Geo CDI. Neo Geo CD, TurboGrafx CD, PC Engine CD, Sega CD. So I've mostly used the base module to play Saturn, as you may be able to tell by the big extensive Saturn collection, which is now taking up 2.5 fucking shelves. So I've been playing a lot of Saturn this year. I've been playing half of the stuff I've wanted to, and I can confirm it doesn't play repros, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, there's not a huge number of games on there that I play the repros of anyway, which is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, not unexpected. I went through a period, I think, about a month ago, just before Christmas. I was playing quite a lot of Polymega. I was playing a lot of Saturn, specifically. So I was playing Saturn Bomberman, because that game is amazing. I'm shockingly bad at it. Guardian Heroes. I got Full Metal... Cyberbots Full Metal Madness, which is about... that one. As well. And I sort of played a lot of the stuff I really wanted to. Still haven't put Panzer Dragoon in this thing. I know Panzer Dragoon works. I know it does. But I haven't played it. Which is dumb. I haven't played Panzer Dragoon Saga, basically. I did play a tiny bit of Magic Knight Ray Earth. I really like that game. Still need to get a proper case. It's on my list. But in general, the base unit has probably seen the most use from me. That being said, I've only got one controller for the base module. I know you can use like different controllers for different stuff, but in general, things like I think the Mega Drive controller in the Mega module doesn't work with Sega Saturn stuff, which sucks. It's also the fact that you can't. The problem with the base controller is that every button is going to be different, regardless of the console. And because you can't utilize, say, the Sega Saturn controller that Sega released a while ago, the wireless one, you can't use that with this. It means that you're kind of forced to use that, which is fine, but it's also kind of crap. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, Sega Saturn's probably the only game I've got light gun games for, and from what I understand, just kind of looking at the community, those aren't anywhere in sight. Which is kind of a problem with buying Polymega, is ultimately you are investing in a console that had real production issues kind of from day one. Getting one was fucking impossible. They seem to have gotten better with that. I could be wrong, don't hold a gun to my head on that, but from what I've been able to tell, the production issues have largely been solved with the core module and the base unit. So the base unit and each of the modules you seem to be able to relatively get now. Shouldn't be too much of a problem if you're sort of looking to jump in. That being said, the light gun has proven elusive. Polymega are doing some... Playmagi, who make the Polymega, are doing some new stuff. There's rumours of a shop that's been kind of ongoing since 2023. I think that was kind of a thing that they offered to people who've been waiting on this bloody thing for so long. They went, oh, you can have Polymega Home, which is some kind of phone app thing I don't really care about. It didn't take them up on that offer, to be honest, so probably won't. But yes, there's some rumours of a shop for the core unit. I don't think they're bringing any wireless functionality, so it's not like I could plug in, say, I don't know, F-Zero X and play with somebody on an entirely separate continent, because I imagine then creating netcode for basically every game in existence that this thing will play is borderline impossible. There was some news with the Polymega back in December, so, November, actually. November. They did announce two of these particular things, which I did a video on and I'll get to in a minute. But the major thing they did update is that there is clearly going to be an Atari 2600 and 7800 module, which I will be buying, even though I've got an Atari Atari 2600 Plus, which this phone is currently sat on to to record this on. I will get a camera, I promise. But when I've got some money. But in general, from what we're kind of looking at, it seems like that module is hopefully going to be announced later on in the year. Polymega had a big update where they basically added the entire 2600 and 7800 library. That being said, I am really hoping they do a Jaguar module, specifically one that adds CD support, because I will be buying Jaguar CD games to actually fucking play them. And I've been getting back into the Jaguar, so that's kind of my hope for the Polymega kind of going forward. We'll get things like the Jaguar, we'll get things like maybe this... I doubt something like, say, the 5200, the Atari 5200 would be a particularly in-demand module. It's similar to getting functionality for, say, the 3DO. That's a maybe, I'd wager. I'd wager that the 3DO is probably, maybe debatably on their list. But there's only really maybe two more modules they could do, maybe three. But that's when you, maybe four. But that's when you start getting into the really niche stuff. They've done the basics. So you've got the NES, the SNES, the Mega Drive, the fucking, what was the other one? TurboGrafx, the bloody, N64. I can see them maybe doing a Master System module, which is why I actually bought a load of Master System games over the last few years to play on this thing, and then I realised, it doesn't play Master System games, which is fine. I don't mind them releasing maybe a third module down the line for Master System. I think that'll be okay. But yeah, I can kind of see where an online shop sort of fits into their general business model. It makes sense to release something online because, sure, you can keep selling modules and you can keep selling the base console, but there's only so much physical bits and bobs for like 60 quid a pop, not including postage, it's like 80, but for about 60 quid a pop, where this would be viable. There's only, I'd say 3, maybe 4, maybe even, maybe 4 max. Everything else is sort of CD based, and at that point, sure, by all means, you can add 3DO functionality. Hell, add Dreamcast. I'd be all over it. Even if that module was just, yeah, we've released this module that plays a bunch of CD games that didn't originally play. We're sort of delving into like 32. We're sort of delving into like Dreamcast and maybe 3DO and CDI and all that crap. But for cartridge-based gaming, there's only really, I'd say maybe a Game Boy adapter or some kind of general handheld adapter, sort of like an analog pocket. A Jaguar module, I think, would be quite popular. A Virtual Boy one, and maybe debatably an Atari 5800 one. That's kind of the ballpark we're looking at. Now, Atari aren't super big on supporting anything to do with the 5200, which, fair enough, it wasn't popular. It still isn't. It's not a good console. The Jaguar, by contrast, again, sort of the same deal. That being said, I think there's enough of a big cult following for maybe that to be the next step. It would certainly be, it's 100% would be something I'd buy. Virtual Boy would be a question, because whilst it's sort of maybe a badge to go, oh yeah, I had a Virtual Boy, of course I do, I collect retro games. Admittedly, that's why I've got one. It's strictly shelf candy. I do play it rarely when I want Ice Train, but yeah, I could see that one maybe being a bit of a niche one. The only ones I could really see majorly selling would be the Master System, the Atari Jaguar, and a sort of Game Boy / handheld thing. Admittedly, that Game Boy handheld thing would probably have to cover the Lynx, and it'll probably have to cover like the Game Boy, and maybe the Game Boy Advance. But in general, yeah, that'll be sort of that general ballpark thing. So, in addition to adding, in addition to fixing a lot of problems with a particular module that I'll get to in a bit, and basically adding an entirely new support network for 2 entirely new libraries in the form of the Atari 2600 and 7800, they did announce something else. So they announced Polymega Collection. And Polymega, that was another big part of the update. Polymega can now play these. So these are just sort of compilations of multiple versions of one specific type of game. So, for example, Asteroids covers everything from Orbit to Lunar Lander to Space Duel, Gravatar, Asteroids on a multitude of different systems, and Super Asteroids and Missile come up with the Lynx, which is why I'm partially wondering if we'll get like a Lynx module down the line. I think that would be popular enough, but we'll see. The other one was Karate Champ. Now, I did do a video on both of these. Karate Champ is not a game I'm good at. It just isn't. But to be fair, neither is Asteroids. And for the cost of these, I'd say they're worth it. I mean, you get a manual. In the case of Karate Champ, you get 2. You get 2 CDs. So you get Karate Champ, just general arcade thing. But then you get a Neo Geo CD disc. That's huge. And in the case of if you buy it early, you get a little pin, which is sick. And I'm all over. And I will probably be buying them as they come out because I want all the pins. So suck eggs. But yeah, so I can kind of see where the additional revenue ideas are going to be coming in. And there's only so many modules left, which is fine. I'm okay with like a set number of modules. really want a Jaguar one, so if you're watching this, which I highly doubt you are, make a Jaguar. Make a Jaguar one. I think it'd be great. It would actually increase my usage of the of the Polymega, I think, by a good margin if I could play the Jaguar. Because I'm really starting to get into it again, and I think it would just be a lot of fun. But yeah, this I'm actually quite interested in. I'm actually very interested in the Polymega collection. I think that's going to be a very key game series that I'm definitely going to be buying into. I like owning like physical media. Duh. So having something new to collect that isn't the fucking Evercade, all over it. I'm not an Evercade fan. I'm not. I tried getting into it, but I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that it wipes cartridges when you update the fucking game is just insane to me. Like, how do you make a product that wipes the cartridges? It's why I'm probably never going to get back into Evercade unless they do something major. But yeah, just dead format to me. Dead console. Didn't fucking play it anyway. Didn't have anything on it. They've only just announced a re-release of Legacy of Kain Blood. I mean, the thing is, I bought that for 40 quid last year, so I don't care. So, that's kind of where I am with the base module, and kind of where I'm hoping Polymega goes over the next kind of 12 months. I'm kind of hoping that my usage will increase, and I'm definitely hoping that my theories on potential business maneuvers are correct. What do I think of the shop? I don't know about the shop. I mean, I'm not particularly bothered about getting the light gun. I've only got about 4 games for it anyway. Area 51, Virtual Cop 1 and 2, and House of the Dead. And whatever. I'm kind of hoping that my module usage will kind of increase. So let's take a look at each of the modules, all 5, that have been currently released at the time of recording. And we'll kind of see what my usage of them was. The Power Element module. So the Power Element module is the NES. It's the Nintendo Entertainment System. Even though the games are like this big. That's what I've always loved about NES cartridges. They're just huge for no reason. Yeah, so Clash at Demon Head. Classic NES game if you're really into Scott Pilgrim. This module is one of 2 I've used once. So I'm not a big NES guy. I'm just not. I'm not Pat the NES drunk, if he's still around. I don't know if he is. I don't really care. But I'm not a big NES collector. I don't tend to play the NES. It's just a system that it's a little too old for me. So this was just sort of part of the bundle. I was kind of hoping that getting this thing would actually incentivize me to maybe fucking play it. And it's also the only fucking box that has a dent in it, which is great. And it bloody arrived. But yeah, I've used this once. Thought something was loose. It's not something I can really see myself using too much of. I might do down the line if there's a NES game I particularly want to play. I've been debating on getting the original Legend of Zelda, even though I fucking hate Zelda. Lynch me. I don't care. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it's not a module I particularly cared for. Even going into buying this thing, I was like, do I need that? Do I just get the 2 I actually give a shit about, which were the I think the SNES and the Mega Drive one. When they first announced it, and then they went, oh, that's 64. And they went, oh, cool, I guess I'm buying that as well. £700. This whole thing. And then another 80. Yeah. It's an expensive machine. But this one, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not a module I see myself using over the next 12 months. It just isn't. It's fine. It's painfully, aggressively average. But I'm not a NES fan. I'm just not. I mean, I've played a little bit of Clash at Demon Head on it, and I think I played maybe a bunch of stuff for it when I got the Polymega, just for that one video I did about a year ago, just kind of going, hey, it's a review, all modules reviewed. Yeah, I played like Clash of Demon Head maybe when I got this like 6 months ago, and I played I think either Marble Madness or Boy and His Blob or something. I can't remember. But yeah, it's not a module I can see myself continuing to use. There's one other module in here. It's sort of the same thing, but we'll see. It's one I've been meaning to get into over a much longer time. Okay. The Super Element module set. This is just the SNES. So this plays SNES, Super Famicom. The NES one plays NES and Super Famicom and General Famicom. But in general, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's one I've used more often, predominantly to play things like ActRaiser, and obviously F-Zero. Little bit of other games. One thing I will note about the Polymega is it doesn't play sort of repro stuff. It does. It does play repro stuff, but it doesn't play things like F-Zero BS, which is the Satellaview. It's the Satellaview games for Nintendo. It doesn't play that. So if you're going into this going, oh, play ROM hacks, no, you can't. But yeah, played a lot of F-Zero on this bit of Star Wing or Star Fox. Unfortunately, it doesn't play Star Fox 2. I wish it fucking did, but it doesn't. Which is fair because that's a repro cartridge. It's one of two I have for the NES, and it doesn't play either of them, which is kind of to be expected. It's only really official releases, so this thing will not register like English patches, English fan-made patches, which sucks, especially for games on the Saturn. I mean, there's loads of games on the Saturn I'd be quite happily playing with an English patch. Police Noughts, for example. But yeah, I haven't tried certain repro games with this. So certain repro games just kind of work without any sort of faffing around or completely different operating system like the Saturn. I think you can just kind of copy them. So the plan is to maybe test that out specifically with Snatcher for the Sega CD, because that game's hideously expensive. I don't know if that Sega CD actually still works anymore. It's just been sat basically in a garage for like 2 years, and then it's been sat on my shelf for another 3. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, anyway, Super 1 I can see myself probably playing a little bit more of, but there are 2 others that just kind of have always sort of taken precedence, and that's the Mega module. Now, I'm more of a Mega Drive guy, I'm more of a Sega guy than I am sort of a Nintendo guy, specifically with the older stuff. And this was a huge reason why I got the Polymega, is because it plays 32X games. So it did play things like Virtua. In fact, it played pretty much my entire library. The entire library of including the repro ones, by the way. So that's why I'm a little bit like, would it play repro Sega CD? Hopefully. But yeah, it played Virtua Fighter. The one thing it didn't play, which is fucking annoying, is a PAL copy of Knuckles Chaotix. So I got rid of that. And then I was like, why did I get rid of that? It was like 140 quid. Now it's like 200 from CEX. So what I ended up doing is actually buying the American copy from a local, well, not local, he's not even local. In the UK, it was in the UK, and they were like, do you have an American 32X? I went, no, but I have a Polymega. And you know what I was talking about, which is always good. But yeah, so I said I had one of these, and he was all like, yeah, it might work. I'm yet to test this, but if it doesn't work, I'll have Knuckles Chaotix, and that's enough for me. And that's a modded 32X anyway, so hopefully, if and when I get a modded Mega Drive, it'll just play. But yeah, I'm quite a keen user of the Mega module. It's definitely one of the major 2 I wanted specifically for 32X games. I mean, that's such a niche. Such a niche library as it is. It's not very big. Most of the games are hideously expensive. Hideously, prohibitively expensive in some cases. Like I don't know. Even Blackthorn. I've got a reproduction copy of Blackthorn. I am desperate to get an actual one. But the actual one is like 300 quid. That alone was basically the same thing. I mean, I've still got 60 quid to pay on that before I can go, yes, I own it now. But, yeah. So, I'm quite happy with the Mega module. I didn't use it, it's not the most used. It's probably the second most used module from last year in particular. That may change this year. Thing is, I've probably played more 32X games, more variety of 32X games than basically any other game library on this system, apart from maybe the Saturn. But I've played more, in terms of playtime, of things on like the module after the next one. So, yes, this is the module that, unlike the NES, I have played it once, but unlike the NES, I want to play it more, and that is the Turbo Element module set. So this plays, what does it play? PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, and Super Graphics, which is a hell of a thing to try and program into this, because there's like 5 games and all like $1,000. So, good luck. Unless repros work. Who knows? Hopefully. But, yeah, I've played this once. I mean, to be fair, my game library consists of things like Break-In, which is billiards, or a fucking fighting, or a fucking boxing game, or a weird-ass generic racer that I don't really care about. It's not a area of gaming I've delved too deeply into. I've got 4 games for it. I'm probably going to get more. I was originally going to buy like a fat stack of really generic crap off of eBay for like 80 quid, and then I went, I've got better things to do. I've got more. I could just buy like 4 games, and that just to begin with, and I think that would probably be fine. It's one I do want to delve into more. I mean, it's not a console library or console libraries plural I've really delved into. It's kind of like the PlayStation 1. There's always stuff on the PlayStation 1 I'm finding, even though 90% of the stuff I know about, I've got. And PlayStation 1 isn't a huge collection focus for me. I'm way more Saturn, way more N64, which will be the next one. But TurboGrafx, much like PS1, PC Engine, sorry, very much something I really want to get into. TurboGrafx did not take off in the UK at all. Just absolutely did not. Did not take off at all. I've maybe found 1 game in the wild. That's it. And it was in a dedicated retro shop on Stanford Common? Somewhere in London. Called Retro Game Base. It's no longer there because most of the retro game shops in London are being worn out by, well, money. Even Crazy Thumbs has gone. It's crazy. But yeah, TurboGrafx is one I will get into down the line. Now, the thing with this. So, the Nintendo 64 module. Probably my most used module after the, alongside the Mega one. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was probably the biggest fucking ball ache for most of the year. So, here's how my journey with Polymega kind of went initially. This arrived in the post first. 5 months ahead of that. And I was genuinely tempted to just throw this up on eBay and cancel the whole order and get my 600 quid back because I kind of needed it. Glad I didn't. I think I would have really heavily regretted it down the line. But here we are. This one, though, plugged it in. I did plug it in initially. And then I went, maybe I should update the Polymega first. So I updated the Polymega. Made sure everything worked. Made sure everything was okay. I do recommend updating it first. So update your Polymega if and when you get one. Update it first. Make sure everything's working. Otherwise, you're just going to have a fucking headache. Half of the games aren't going to work and it's a pain in the ass. So, I'd imagine that as time goes on, they'll probably just shove each console will probably launch with new firmware, kind of like 360s did as time went on. Probably the same with things like PS2 and the original Xbox. But this had some problems. So this didn't play basically anything. Well, it did play a good chunk of the stuff I really wanted to play, but it didn't play things like Lilac Wars or Star Fox 64. Didn't play that. That's a big game for the N64 library. Huge. Massive. He didn't play it. He didn't play it at all. I got rid of my original copy because I thought it was something to do with that. So I bought a new one for like £6 and I went, oh, that doesn't work either. So I'm going out on a limb and saying that that's largely been rectified. I haven't actually tried Lilac Wars in it for quite some time, but I did try GoldenEye. GoldenEye works okay, thankfully. So there's a bit of a Polymega Facebook group. All really lovely people. Really supportive of this console, despite the fucking headaches that you get with Polymega as a whole. And I think they've been pretty okay. Now that the Ultra Element module, or the Ultra 64, as it was originally called, the Nintendo 64, works better. Works better now. I think it works with the cartridge memory sticks, so you can actually save memory that you've played on the Polymega and then transfer it onto an N64, which is quite cool. You can't do that with basically anything else. You can't. There's nothing like that for the. There's absolutely nothing like that for the fucking PS1, which is great. Thanks. No, you can't transfer save states from the Polymega to the PS1, so it doesn't actually support a lot of peripherals. But yeah, the Ultra 64 module, yeah, I think they've largely fixed it. That was a big part of that update. So that update had 3 major things. Number 1, adding the new libraries. Number 2, letting you play the collection games. Specifically, I think it just adds functionality for the different, specifically for the main discs that have Polymega on them, rather than like any others that they might include. And it fixed this, because this was the biggest complaint people have had, apart from the fucking light guns. Getting the light guns, good luck. If you're going for it, go crazy. They're like 90 quid, and I'm not interested. So, that's Polymega a year on. Where do I think we are? In a much better state we were than 12 months ago. Much better. N64 modules fixed. A lot of the games are now working. There's been some communication. There's some interesting new steps. I'm quite a keen advocate for these, but I think that's just because I like physical games. So if you want them, go get them. They're up on the website. I think it was like 80 quid to get 2. But that included like shipping to the UK from America. So I think I'm just gonna have to put up with that going forward. It's gonna be very expensive, but fuck it. I like the system. And I'm kind of hoping that as the year goes on, and maybe as the next... Hell, if Polymega want to come out and do some kind of weird direct, I'd be all over it going, hey, we're launching the shop, and we're launching, like, new games in the Polymega collection. We're doing a Jaguar module. Yes, please do a fucking Jaguar module. But yeah, I'm going to probably keep buying this system for this system. I'm definitely looking to branch out in terms of the games I'm buying, predominantly for the TurboGrafx, not so much for the NES. And yeah, do I recommend you get one now? Yes. I'd recommend you get one now rather than a year ago. I wouldn't have recommended you get one a year ago. I think they've done enough at the moment for me to recommend it. Most of the games work. There's always new things to play. And I'm kind of hoping that over the next year or so, I'm going to get a lot more use out of this thing. The plan is to maybe set it up permanently in the living room, maybe on like a table or something. I don't really know. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's it for this week. I think next week we're probably going to delve a little bit into where I am, personally. I've been kind of undergoing some changes. Specifically in my day-to-day life, and kind of seeing how gaming sort of is aiding that. kind of what my plans kind of going forward with collecting and whatnot is. So this will sort of be a follow-up to a video called When Gaming Saved Me. I think I'm going to give it a less dramatic title than that because, yeah, I think some people are a bit worried. They're like, "You okay?" I'm a lot better now. That's all I can say at the moment. But yeah, I think we'll be following up next week kind of with that in mind. But yes, anyway, thank you very much for watching. And hopefully, I will see you next time.